Hello, hello, and greetings from Des Moines, Iowa. This is your girl Emily with the Black Girl Iowa podcast, and I am so excited because today's episode is my first interview episode. I have a really awesome interview for you guys. We will get into that. But kind of like what I talked about on my first episode, we are starting every episode with a Black history fact. So every fact is going to be Black history in Iowa. And with this one, it's going to be kind of like a continuous piece. But here's where we're going to start. So, according to the 2019 Greater Iowa African American Resource Guide, African Americans arrived in Iowa in 1838 and were instrumental in settling Iowa as a territory. At the time, Iowa was actually a free state, but had strict codes that did discourage us from basically migrating to other states. After the Civil War, though, migration to Iowa increased and many settled in Buxton, Iowa, which is in Monroe County. This coal mining town was an integrated community where 75% of the population was Black. Don't worry though, we will learn more about the legacy of Buxton, Iowa in future episodes. But I want to go ahead and get into the interview. So at this time, I'd like to introduce my guest, Kourtney Perry. She is a Des Moines native and Scavo Alternative School graduate and is the definition of self-made as she is owner of two well-known businesses right here in the city, an event planning and brand management company called Privacy and Ladie Lex Scented Candles. She is a 2023 graduate of 1 Million Black Women, Black in Business, workshop facilitator, and volunteer chair for Many Shades of Color, which is a women's youth conference, and is the 2023 Barbara Jean Long Award recipient. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary friends, I would like to introduce you to our guest and the interview with the one and only Kourtney Perry. Hey everyone, it's Emily here. I am here with my very first interview. I have Kourtney Perry, the CEO of Ladie Lex Candles here in Des Moines. Kourtney, thank you so much for being my first episode, my first interview.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This is an exciting time, and I'm glad that I could be your first. So yes,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yes. I'm looking forward to getting all of this launched. But I want to just tell everyone a little backstory. So a few years ago, I went to the farmer's market post-COVID, and I saw Kourtney there, and I almost slept for candles. So me and my friend went over to her right away, and she was just very warm and inviting and just really excited for her product and for people to enjoy her product. So ever since then, I've always seen her at different events and things like that, and at the farmer's market. So doing this podcast, you were the first person to come to my mind.
Woo-hoo.
I was like,
I'm all popular and things.
So we're just really going to talk a lot about her journey as being an entrepreneur here in the Des Moines area. So first off, Kourtney, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience growing up here in Des Moines?
Des Moines, Iowa. So I am born and raised, still live here. At some point in time, I will decide to venture off, but I vacation a lot. Des Moines is home. I will say I am definitely blessed to have grown up in an era that wasn't my own. I have older sisters, so I was kind of able to, tag along. But I don't have any bad vibes. I grew up in a church-filled home, raised by my grandmother. So there was no, go get to hang out when I was younger. I got to that point, but very structured environment. Into school, definitely English was my favorite subject in school.
Okay.
But as we grow older, we have that itch.
Absolutely.
To break free.
Yes.
And so I had that itch, and I explored that itch at a young age. And, I was 13, 14 out there hanging out and had no business. So
being grown before you were grown.
Being grown before I'm grown, and I don't want to be grown no more.
Listen,
okay?
It's the ghetto. It really is. 0 out of 10, don't recommend.
I am over it. If I could change anything, take me back to not being an adult.
Yes.
But Iowa is Iowa. Things have definitely changed over time. There's a lot of people who no longer live here. They've passed away that have, changed the culture. Generations have changed the way the kids are raised. So I will say in the era where I was at, it was great, but now it's a little different.
Right. I hear you. I hear you. So, you went to Hoover.
Yes.
Graduated from Scavo.
Yes.
Okay. Do you kind of want to talk about what that transition was like for you and then what life after Scavo was like?
So I attended Hoover High School in my 9th and 10th grade. I loved my principal, but she kicked me out.
Oh.
And it's so
That
crazy
hurts my
because
soul.
I see her all the time and I love her to death. She comes
Mhm.
and even buys candles for me.
Oh, nice. So now she's a customer.
She's my customer now. But I was in that time frame, 9th and 10th grade. I was living in that itch, so I was out there hanging out, doing things I didn't have no business, and I did get pregnant at that time. I was bad in school, so at the time when I got kicked out in 10th grade, I went to Scavo. So once I had hit that point and that opportunity, like, dude, I got a kid that I'm about to raise, it was my more so that itch was gone. I have to provide for this child. I've got to finish school. So I went on to Scavo and ended up finishing Scavo, had my daughter, went back to school. I did end up having to go back to school to finish once I had her. So I think I took 3 weeks off, went back to school to finish, and just went into the workforce after that. But, that it's not always easy for people to be in that type of situation. And I had a good support system as well. And that's very key. But, when you are in there and you're like, hey, I got to grow up.
Yeah.
I had to grow up at that point.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So, talking a little bit about this experience. So, you're 16 years old, pregnant, having to essentially be grown now for real, right? So, can you tell me a little bit about some of the jobs that you had to support you and your daughter and what those experiences were like for you at a young age?
I remember being at one of my first jobs, and I had a job when I was first at Tiny Top 14. That's when they actually had programs in the school back then. So when I say school and everything was great back in the day, it was great. It's not now.
Agree.
But anyway, I remember first signing up with a company called Adecco. It was a temporary agency, and they sent me to a corporate company downtown. I think it was in the Ruan building. I can't remember what company it was, but that was real life. Where it allowed me to see, like, whoa, this is what happens in the adult world. You get dressed, you wake up early, for one. You got to get dressed, you got to put on this face, you have to do tasks, and you get this horrible pay, and you got to deal with it. And so it was definitely life changing for me. I think at that point, of course, my goal and my mission was to be able to provide for my daughter. So I did have that job, and as time went on, that was an administrative job. But as time went on, I am an education junkie, so I started seeing other different opportunities. So I ended up working. I was like the lunch lady.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was the lunch lady, and I remember having that job back in 2003. I was in the lunch lady, and I worked for the Des Moines Public Schools for like 8 years. So I started there. I went on to like a substitute associate. I was their school office manager. I worked, and then I worked in HR. So I worked up that. I've been in the automotive industry, construction. So over the years, up until now, it has been different industries, but each one I have been able to take something out of it to be able to build my profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that they don't teach you this in college. I feel like I did not learn this until I got into the working world, is that regardless of your background, every job that you have gives you a marketable skill.
Correct.
That you are able to build off
Correct.
of. And I really feel like it's important that students know that. And especially when, your path isn't like everybody else's.
Most definitely. And my key thing, what I ended up learning, and I learned it a little late in the game, is take advantage of what the opportunities they have for you. So then what I mean by that is, like, you have you're working for a job, there's a program that they may have that may help you with tuition assistance, or something where you might be able to take a program or get a certificate for something. Like, take advantage. And even if they don't, you could still ask. Yeah. Like, I had a colleague of mine who recently told me, and of course this is just recent, but just still aligns with the opportunities. Like, there was a program that was out of state that was going to help her better her position at work. And she took it, she wrote a whole proposal for them, and they ended up actually sending her and 3 others to that company, to that program. So, I mean, those benefits are out there. If you see something and if you feel as if it's not attainable for you financially, take that to your employer. It's their duty to still continue and support you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm a big proponent of professional development, because the marketable skills you have now got you the position.
Correct.
But any good employer is going to keep developing those skills, so you can essentially move up. If they're not, they don't want you to move up. Right. They want you to stay right where you are. Right. And nobody has time to stay stagnant, in my opinion.
Right. And you're going to run into those situations where you may work for an employer and you notice that they are not willing to move you up the ladder. I myself have worked in male-dominated fields, and I have always hit a cusp where there was always somebody that was above me that was never going to move and allow me to move forward. So I had to leave.
Yeah.
So you're going to run into, it's not always going to be honky dory. Congratulations to those ladies and men who actually find that job and they're cool, but you might have 2 and 3 jobs before you make it to that right one. But
absolutely.
Never give up.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, I want to talk about you going into business for yourself. So you've already said you've had a lot of different jobs. You worked for DMPS, you worked in construction. I'm assuming you've probably had a job in retail. We all have. And then you also work with kids, little kids.
I remember
not Montgomery Wards. No. Are you talking about the one on the south side?
No, I worked at the one that was in Merle.
Oh, yes. Lord. Okay, so for all of y'all that were born before 1995, look up Montgomery Ward, because there was 2 here in the Des Moines area, and they were the best department stores.
They was.
Okay, so what did you do at Montgomery Ward?
I was a sales rep.
Okay.
I worked on the floor in retail, so yeah.
Okay. See, my first retail job, I worked at the American Eagle. That was
that was in Merle.
Yep, I worked there on and off for 8 years, I think, through high school and college. So
yeah,
good times. So tell me, kind of, what was the straw that broke the camel's back for you to be like, you know what? I'm gonna be my own business. I'm gonna be my own boss. I'm gonna run my own business.
I was in that position where I was not going any further. I literally was in a position where I had started out in a temp agency. Of course, one thing in life, you will go backwards and you can go forward. And I had went backward at one point in time and was back at that temp job, worked my way up into that position. And there was nowhere else for me to go. I needed to either find a new job that paid higher, or it was time for me to leave there. And so, as I've told this story, I was presented with an opportunity by Robert Presswood, Platinum Cuts owner.
Okay.
He did Clash of the Clippers every year. And my sister, Shantae, is Dread Doctor, and Karina Huff, who is Toots the stylist, they had called me like, hey, he needs help. Are you willing to help? Here's his number. Do that. And I went in there with a volunteer aspiration and thought I was going to just do, little minimum, but ended up doing a lot. But then at the end of the day, with my feet hurting, I loved every single bit of it. And I told myself at that point, and I was in a transition phase because my daughter had just graduated high school and she was off to college. So I was an empty nester. It was at that point in life where I was like, whoa, every skill that I had gained over the years from all of these different industries, I can take this and build something of my own. My goal at that point is I named my company Privacy. And I named the company Privacy because I'm a pretty private person. I don't feel like I need to tell you everything about my life, every minute of what I do, especially with this technology era. But also, too, my goal with the company was to be able to provide some type of peace in that person's life or whatever. And my first thought was to be a T-shirt provider. But yeah, no, that was too much work.
T-shirts.
Yeah, t-shirts.
Okay.
I don't know where I thought of, because I guess I'm a good t-shirt. I always like a good t-shirt.
Yes.
So I'm like, I could do this on my own. I can make my own t-shirt. But yeah, no, I strayed away from that. And I went into this whole event planning thing, and my first event was, let's back up. My first thing when I first started my business was to network. How do I meet these people? Where am I going? And what am I going to be doing? So my networking was pretty heavy in the first year. I was showing up to everything, congratulating people, supporting other people. I'm definitely huge on that, because somebody is not being supported and they might not have that circle. So you should be there for them. So a lot of people were potentially watching me, I guess you would say. And so that was its era, when that was back in 2019, and a lot of small businesses started to flourish. And so I took the opportunity during a huge time during Drake Relays and hosted what did we call that thing? A first annual Drake Relays vendor showcase with hair and fashion show is what it's called.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the poster right now. So yes. I will be sure to add that into the blog. Yes. That's awesome.
I have my posters on my wall in this store, and they are signed by me.
I love it.
So they're going to be worth something someday.
I love that.
But the goal for that was to showcase those businesses that were coming out, but also let the world know, like, I'm coming out too. This is what my capabilities are. And so I hosted that. It was a great event. Of course, with the first thing, I didn't get, a return or anything, but it taught me so much about that. So, from there, I've just continued to keep striving. My second event that same year I did a children's fashion show, because I always felt like the elementary kids were overlooked. So it was an opportunity for them to just have their day. And then, of course, COVID hit.
Yep.
So COVID hit, the event planning went down, and of course, we're all at home. I'm in the basement, and I'm whipping up wax to make Ladie Lex Candles.
Really?
Yes.
So was Ladie Lex something that you had already been working on when you were doing your events? Or
Nope.
Was this kind of like with me? So like during COVID, I was bored. That's when I started making cards. And I was like, wow, like I'm kind of good at this.
Right.
It was literally like, I went on YouTube, saw someone, hey, are you bored? Do you have scrapbook paper? Do this. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. And I did it.
Yeah.
Was that kind of what happened with the candles?
A little bit. So in all of 2019 was great. 2020, I was going. They was going to know me. You was going to see it. I had to cancel the Drake Relays event because of COVID. So I had to refund everybody their money, cancel it, whatever. However, the one thing good about it is that I offered business services to other businesses.
Okay.
So I was able to take another service that I had to monetize on that. And I still had another part-time job.
Okay.
So I'm a hustler.
Yep.
So
clearly.
In COVID, I worked.
Yes.
I worked. So I had that part-time. But also too, when I first started out, I'm like, I'm going to have some type of product that goes with privacy. And so my sister was the one that suggested, why don't you try making candles? So that's when I did the research and found out all of the benefits that a candle can provide, just besides a great scent.
Yes.
It combats mental health. And in that era during COVID, what were we going through? Mental health issues.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So I focused my brand on being able to alleviate your stress, your anxiety, your depression, and how can that get out into the world. And so Ladie Lex was birthed, and Ladie Lex my middle name is Alexis.
Okay. Got you. And so would you say that this is your baby?
Privacy is my baby.
Okay.
Ladie Lex is the sister.
Okay.
So they're both my babies.
They're both your babies.
Yes.
Okay. You love them differently, right?
I love them differently.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
The Ladie Lex is definitely that second kid, because the first kid is great. that second kid is a lot of work.
Yep, absolutely. Ask my parents. I'm the baby of the family.
Yeah, I'm the baby of the family too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
and
a lot of work.
And it's funny because I wasn't a lot when I was younger, but I think now that I'm older and I'm a little bit more needy, I fully live into that, and they need to be okay with it. Totally fine.
Be okay.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Ladie Lex. So like I said, I'm a huge fan of your candles. My favorite one is lavender. And then I do burn rainwater, usually when I'm relaxing and I'm working on my diamond art or I'm working on cards or something like that. So tell me a little bit about your products, what you carry here in the store, and why yours, like what sets your candles apart from Bath and Body Works.
First and foremost, stop going to Bath and Body Works.
You heard it here first.
I'm sorry. Okay. I can compete with them. Now I can't compete with their prices, but mind you, I'm in the kitchen whipping this stuff up. I'm in my warehouse whipping it up, and I'm making that. But I can guarantee you that the same way that the candle smells when you smell it, before you purchase it, is the same way that it's going to smell when you burn it. And also you're going to get the longevity of the candle. I have people who I probably should start calling to let them know, like, hey, can you come buy another candle? This is 30 days. It's past due. Burn your candle out. And my candles, like, I have so many benefits. And my candles, you can burn all the way to the bottom. So you get those candles, and it's like you're all the way at the bottom, and it smells so good, and you can't get the rest of it. Yeah. Baby, burn that thing to the very bottom.
Right.
But I started out with I ended up having 50 different scents at one point in time.
Wow.
And that was because as a business owner, you want to be able to satisfy all of your customers. Oh, they wanted this scent, they wanted that scent, they wanted that scent. And I was making them, baby. I was pouring them out. But then as business owners, we have to follow our guidelines. We have to pay attention to the trends. And so now we're only down to about 14 to 15 candles that'll be on the shelf at all times. And then I've turned a lot of those candles into seasonal to kind of give that prospect. But we have your floral, your soft scents, your musky scents, and of course we have our aromatherapy collection that is dedicated toward your anxiety, your depression, your relaxation, your sleep aid, and things like that. We also offer wax melts. We started wax melts because when I was doing vendor events, I was meeting nurses. And they were like, we don't burn candles. We see too many kids in the ER with burns from candles. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I wanted to be able to have that benefit. So we offer wax melts. We offer room sprays, lotions, home decor. Decor. I'm getting back into the pillows and blankets this summer. And then we're going to be doing a t-shirt line probably in the fall is when I'll come up with that. So right now we're going to be turning it into a full boutique experience. And I'm also going to be working on bringing other brands in. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, and it's funny because, when you walk in, the first thing you're hit with, and sometimes I feel like when I go into Bath and Body Works, I'm hit with too many scents.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's sweet, then it's musky or whatever. But being here with all of your candles, it is very pleasant. And I'm not getting a headache, so having to leave right away, which is really important. So I do know also that you do focus quite a bit on mental health. So do you have any products that kind of geared towards that you would definitely recommend to future customers?
We've got a couple of different things. So with the aromatherapy line, my favorite is peppermint, which is called Ecstasy, which is a peppermint and eucalyptus. It definitely is guaranteed to alleviate headaches and just focus your mind. And those candles, what I tell people is burn them for a couple of hours, blow it out, and then you can just leave it in the room. And you can do that with a majority of my scents. I will tell you which ones you may not if you do come in. But those are definitely going to help you. And mental health is just relaxing the mind and giving you a comfort. The second thing is I am also a self-published author of a self-care workbook. It's called Be Your Authentic Self. And that I built because I took my past experiences and put it on to let people know in order for you to be who you are and to get where you want to be in life, you have to be yourself. And sometimes you might just need to go through different phases to understand back who you really are. So the workbook will take you through the different phases as far as your health. And I will tell you, I had to go back into the book because I'm still on phase 1, and that is maintenance of your health.
Yep.
But also, removing the negativity, finding the positive thinking that you have, those daily affirmations that we all should be doing. Understanding who's in your life that shouldn't be, and who's missing in your life, and where you need to find those people to bring in, because it's all about your circle.
Mm-hmm.
It's always
Absolutely.
important to have your circle and knowing those resources. So the workbook goes through about 11 different stages,
Mm-hmm.
and walks you through that. So definitely, so the book is here in the store.
Okay, that's amazing. And so I want to kind of touch back on, you said that, you coming into your store,
Mm-hmm.
you want it to be an experience.
Mm-hmm.
So my question with you being an entrepreneur and being a businesswoman, is this a vision that you always had for Ladie Lex and privacy?
No, not at all. Not at all. Nobody wanted all these bills.
So is this something that where it was like, okay, so I'm doing candles, what else? Or kind of walk me through what your process was to add these other elements to the store.
So I'm a creator. I'm definitely a creative, however you're supposed to say that, because stuff will come to my mind and I just feel like doing it, and sometimes I do it. But privacy, once I got to that aspect of it being event planning, my goal and it still is just to be able to provide events that people come out with creative memories and that can live with those for a lifetime. So, and it's also being able to build a brand so people actually see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who may do businesses and it's you don't understand, or you always hear, oh, I didn't hear about you. No, let's put you out there. Let's generate and stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? And so privacy has always been that. When Ladie Lex came on the scene, it was more so just, okay, cool, yeah, we're gonna make these candles and just sell them. There was no way in thought that I ever thought that I would have a storefront and a warehouse outside of my home.
Yeah.
But that opportunity presented itself at a time where I was like, why not?
Yeah.
I noticed when I was going through the farmer's market that I was losing customers, because when you have a candle, you want to actually smell the candle.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, I seen this sign in the window, and I actually rode by it for like a few weeks before I finally called the phone number, like, let me go over here and see what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I met with the police manager, and she was so great and she was so awesome. And like from the first time I talked to her, she was like, yeah, this is about to be yours and you can do that and you can do a whole remodel. The man that was in here, it used to be a jewelry store. Mm-hmm. And he was here since like 1970 something.
Wow.
Like when I walked in here, the walls had wood on them. And all of that. Yeah.
Not wood paneling.
Yeah. I have a preview of what the store used to look like on my Instagram.
Okay.
And so they had already planned on doing a full remodel, and I came at just that time where I was able to pick out some of the stuff and design and all that. So it was an opportunity that I evaluated that had absolutely no negativity behind it. Mm-hmm. And I was huge on there, and I pondered it for even a couple of weeks afterwards, because I'm like, is this something that I really should do? But it aligned with where I could potentially take this business to.
Right.
So I took the opportunity. And then as I took that opportunity, the company started growing because I started offering services of wholesale. Yes. And that's making 400 candles for one company, or doing a candle making class and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I ran it. And this was when I was still doing candles in my basement of my home. Mm-hmm. And so there was one time I ordered like 10 cases of 45-pound boxes, and you have to take those down a flight of stairs, and I almost fell. Okay. So I said, oh no, this is not going to work for me no more. Mm-hmm. My same property manager came up with another vacant space. And I called her. I'm like, is that still available? She's like, no, I still have somebody. Well, maybe about a month later, she was like, okay, that fell through. Do you want it? So I took that opportunity. My sister manufactures her own products. So we collaboratively came together, and we have a warehouse that's around the corner from the store. So these little opportunities have come up along the way of the journey of the businesses, but it never was the full sight of the very beginning, though. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's just everything. It really sounds like everything just kind of happened organically.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I guess I'm going to ask you this next question, because I think in just talking to you thus far, it really feels like you have confidence within yourself, which I think is really important. And I've kind of told you a little bit about this podcast, and that I have wanted to do a podcast for years, but I never knew what to talk about until now. So what keeps you motivated to keep going with Ladie Lex, with privacy and other potential business ventures that you foresee yourself doing in the future?
So, a few different things. One, that faith. That man above is never going to put you in a position that he does not see that you will not succeed with. So, in this journey of entrepreneurship, we all know that this is not for the weak. It's not always going to be the way that you think it is. The money is not always going to come. You're going to struggle. You're going to have challenges. You're going to want to give up. I want to give up all the time. All the time I want to say, oh my goodness, I'm going to go back to a 9-to-5, and actually went back to a 9-to-5 and got fired.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I was not available.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is a lot. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
So it is a lot of different perspectives that you do, but at the end of the day, the way that I look at it now is I've built something. I have built, and how do I want to say this the correct way? I'm building my empire.
I love that.
And I want to say I have an empire because I feel like I know that I do, but I'm not at that full successful point to just go and say, yep, like I'm still working in the business and on the business. Yes. My goal is to be the CEO and only work on the business. But the confidence is because I know my potential. I don't want to say I see it. I know my potential.
Oh, man.
I know that I can make it happen.
Kourtney,
it just takes a lot of work. It's work.
These gems, I know my potential.
Oh, I know my potential.
I love that.
I know my potential. I know I have the ability to do it. It's the mental and physical, the support systems, and the resources. Yeah. I have all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And, and I think too, when you say, I built something, you're looking at it in the physical, and I think that that's really powerful. And I really think that that's a really good piece of advice for other women, other Black women here in Iowa specifically.
Know your worth.
That want to be entrepreneurs and really live and love their craft and share it. So I want to kind of change gears just a little bit as we kind of wrap up the interview. And, one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast was because, again, I feel like Iowa is a flyover state. Black people make up about 4% of the state's population. But there are some Black women that are doing just incredible things. And I really want this podcast to showcase that. What advice, or no, not necessarily what advice, but if there is someone that is listening and it's maybe they don't want to do a business, maybe, they're looking at possibly going to college or even, just getting a good grade on their ACT or just wanting to really put something into their own abilities and their own craft. What advice do you have for them as Black women living in this state?
There's $1 billion company with a slogan that says, just do it. And I'm not getting any type of money, but Nike, if you want to pay me, if you hear this,
if Nike want to sponsor,
go ahead, throw us that sponsorship, okay? But my one thing that I always say is like, you'll never know unless you try. And in my self-care workbook, it is your failures are your lessons. And it's funny, I just did a workshop with a middle school and high school class team. And there was a young lady and she said, why are you even calling them failures? They're just lessons. And I'm like, yeah, you make a good point. But the analogy that we have to put together is that there's going to be times when you're going to fail. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay for you to fail that test because there's something that you missed that then you can go back and look at, and then you learn something to ace it the next time. The business may fail. A lot of people say, you're doing great. No, my business has failed quite a few times. Like, we've been in the hole. There's bills that are past due. There's a product that didn't work. Like, there have been business lessons. You're going to learn from those lessons. And just in life in general, and anything that you want to do, if you set your mind to it, do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that is the perfect thing to end this podcast on. I think, just getting out there, doing it. I mean, that's kind of what happened with the podcast was, Emily, you just need to go ahead and do it.
Just do it.
There's no sense in waiting. Yep.
Yeah. Nobody in this world is perfect. And if we continue to try to perfect things, that generation behind us will never understand what it really takes to get to the places that we have made. Mm-hmm. We have to show them that this is just me. This is just what I'm doing. And you can do it too. So naturally show them that over time, this is where I was at, but you see where I've made it. But they need to see that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Kourtney, thank you so much for your time.
You for having me.
Before we let you go and get back to your empire, do you want to tell us how we can get in touch with you on social media, what your website is, where you're located at here in Des Moines?
Yes.
And please promote yourself. Yes. What events do you have?
Oh, my goodness.
The microphone is yours.
Oh, my gosh. I don't think anybody ever gave me that time. Yes. I'm trying to cut this short. Well, please. Privacy, again, is an event planning and brand management company. You can find that company at www.privacyllc.net. We provide, again, the event planning services. We can come in the day of. We can provide you with branding for your business, your logos, your marketing, your vendor setups, all of that stuff. Custom designs can be made. So privacy is that. Thank you to my ISU team who has been doing diligently to help me make that vision clear. Ladie Lex Candles, you can find at 3019 Merle Road here in Des Moines, Iowa. Online version, we have www, and Ladie is LADIE candles with an S.net. We do several pop-ups. We are at the downtown farmers market. Those dates will be listed on the website soon. We'll be there for about 14 different spots, and we're on Court 30 off of 3rd and Court.
Okay.
Any of those times we offer the candle making services, wholesale, fundraisers, donation baskets come with a requirement. Anything, I mean, I love to do bulk orders and provide custom scents. We are looking for individuals who have products that would like to come to the store and do consignment option. That is an option. There is a application online that you can apply for that as well. And I am pretty heavily in the community, so I'm one of those people where people just be like, I just need somebody to talk to. I offer mentor services, but it's not promoted. But I'm that person who's going to keep it real and honest with you. So anytime you need to stop by, come on, have a therapy session. I'm pretty sure I might have some wine in the back refrigerator for you. So come on by.
You had me at talk, but if
I know. Unfortunately, I'm out today, but next time when you come, I got it. I'm going fully stocked this next week for sure. Awesome. But yes.
And what's your Instagram?
Instagram, Privacy LLC, and Ladie Lex Candles. Remember, the LADIE is on Instagram. Facebook. We have a TikTok for Ladie Lex, and that again is Ladie Lex Candles.
Okay. Yes. Wonderful. And I will have all of that information in the show notes and on the blog. Again, Kourtney, thank you so much.
Thank you. And congratulations to you. And we can't wait. To see you blow up.
I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna do it. All right, guys. So we're gonna take a quick break, and then I will be back to wrap up the episode. Was that not a fantastic conversation? I mean, first and foremost, before I get into my reflection on the episode, I do want to thank Courtney for not only allowing me to kind of pick her brain and have this awesome conversation, but y'all, we also had the conversation at her amazing storefront, which I will be sure to put the location and everything like that down in the show notes. But her store is absolutely adorable. And if you are in the Des Moines area or surrounding area, highly recommend y'all go check out her shop and her products. So she actually just came up with these aroma beads. So, oh God, they're fantastic. But anyway, so I really enjoyed talking to Courtney because I feel like Courtney has a healthy hustle mentality. And when I say that, like hustle culture is something that, we have been seeing for a while now, right? I mean, we're always seeing people, doing different business ventures and just getting into different things. But I feel like with hers, her hustle mentality to me really showcases that she believes in the talent that she has, and she honestly believes that what she can put into the community is for its betterment. So I think with her having privacy as an event planning and brand management, I think is just a fantastic way to leverage both of those skills, but also a way to showcase those skills. And I mean, Ladie Lex Candles, those are my favorites. So I think I would think that like candle making takes a lot of patience. Because you have to be able to get it right. Like I think some people think, oh, you pour a little essence in, you melt some wax, and voila, you've got a candle. But it's a lot more intuitive to that, and I really think that she took the time to master that craft, and wants to keep getting better. Um, which really leads me into a couple of takeaways that I have from this episode. I think the first one is just do it. I mean, that's free marketing, whatever, from Nike, but it really spoke to me because, I think for myself and my journey over the last 2 years, which is something we will get into, I will talk about the last 2, 3 years of my life and really what that's been like. Um, but for a long time, I was really afraid to do things. I felt like I would start to do things and kind of see a little bit of success, but the minute it didn't work out, nope, it's a failure and I'm not going to do it anymore. Which is one of the reasons why I was actually like really afraid to start this podcast. This was something that kind of like what I talked about in my first episode was born from a project that I did. And I started really thinking about, wow, what are our experiences like? How can I highlight our experiences? How can I share our stories, but also share my story and be confident um, in what I'm telling and what I'm saying, and also recognizing that this is a dream. Kind of like I said in the first episode, y'all. Like I have always been a student of media and always been into communications and outreach and how can I get word out to someone, and taking radio and TV in high school and then deciding to be a journalism mass communications major in college and now getting my master's of arts in communications. Um, this is exactly, I honestly think what I was meant to be doing was podcasting and having a voice and giving a voice to the voiceless and sharing all of those great things. So I thought that that was really big. And then also, having confidence in yourself and your abilities. I cannot draw. I can't draw. I am not an artist of any kind where I can make these amazing and insightful pieces of amazing artwork or anything like that. But I do have an ability to ask the right questions and build conversation off of that, which I think is something that like I didn't really think about until probably I started working on that project that I was working on that ended up um, creating this podcast. Um, I also think too, when I speak about confidence, another thing about this podcast that I knew I was going to have to do is outreach. I knew that I was going to have a master list of people that I wanted to talk to, a master list of things that I wanted to talk about. And how can I facilitate conversation with those people based off of these topics, you know? So doing the podcast was really more about making sure that I had all my ducks in a row and I did my research before I said, we're going to do it, you know? So that's why I said, like, I spent a month working on this podcast and getting, you know, my colors right and starting to blog and starting to, you know, interview my boyfriend and ask him questions, which I know he can't stand half the time, um, but yeah, you know, he definitely helped with. And then just really recognizing that I have that ability to talk. I have the gift of gab. And that is not a bad thing, even though I'm pretty sure a lot of teachers and parent teacher conferences from when I was little probably did not agree because I was definitely a talker. But anyway, um, the other thing that I definitely learned from this interview with Kourtney is learning from your failures and using them as lessons. I mean, oh my gosh. You know, I feel like for a lot of us, especially for the millennial generation, we we're so hung up for so long about, well, if you fail, you know, you can't go back and this, that, or whatever. But I'm really starting to learn at my current age that a failure is just a lesson. It doesn't mean that, you know, you're doomed, or it doesn't mean that you're, you know, you're not going to be successful. It just means take it as a lesson and you might just have to change your plan a little bit. And there is nothing wrong with that. You know, so yeah, you know, I've had some failures in the past, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to move forward and do great things later on. So those were some of the things that I definitely learned from this episode. Again, I will have Kourtney's information where you can follow her on Instagram, her website, all of that good stuff. I will be sure to link all of that in the show notes. And a sneak peek to next week's episode. I am going. Oh, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I will be talking about my divorce and what my life has been like the last 2.5 years. So I was in a marriage. I was with my ex-husband for 17 years. Met him when I was 19, got married when I was 25. We spent 11 years together, and right before our 11th wedding anniversary, I filed for divorce. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, and not only necessarily the reasons why not only the reasons why I decided to leave, but kind of the healing journey and the self-discovery that I have been on over these last couple of years. And I can honestly say that this podcast would have never been born if I was still with that man. So more details about that in next week's episode. But again, thank you so much for listening this week. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I've got some really amazing episodes and interviews coming up. So please make sure that you are following the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Hopefully, I'll be getting it uploaded to a couple other spots where you can be able to check out my podcast. In addition to that, don't forget, I have a blog. So, and my website is www.blackgirliowa.com. You can also ask me a question there that might be answered on a future episode. And also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Black Girl Iowa. Again, thank you so much for listening. Stay healthy, stay blessed, and I will catch y'all on the next episode. Signing off, this is your girl, Emily. Talk to you later. Bye.